Hello, Texas, and welcome to the Hello, Texas podcast with Tim Murphy and Steve Peters. This week, Steve and Tim talk with Central Texas musician Wes Perryman. They talk about his life and career as a farmer and his growth as a singer-songwriter, as a solo artist, and with the band Lilly and the Implements. We hope you enjoy the conversation.
All right, we're back. Hello, Texas.
Oh, are we back?
Yeah,
oh,
we slow roll into these things now. So
hey,
How y'all doing?
I ain't touching.
So,
I ain't touching the mic no more.
Tim and Steve with Hello, Texas, here with Wes Perryman and his gorgeous. How many times we said that? We're going through your life story basically, and we're up to.
we're gonna have to. He's gonna be another guest that's gonna have to come back, and we're gonna have to find like pieces of it just to dive in because I am seriously fascinated with where. And this was two segments back, but where we was digging into your 21-year-old getting into the band. Yeah. I want to get. That's a whole other story. I want to.
I've said this to you before, but I wanted you to be a contestant on The Voice, not really because of your voice, but because of your story and your influence. I've always been fascinated with the farmer on the tractor writing songs that comes back and is the badass guitar player for a rock band, and just it all just in the middle of in as central Texas as we could possibly get. I mean, if you balance Texas on your finger's going to be sitting on Moody. That's how central we are.
And it's funny because if I feel like we was talking earlier, you said your Instagram presence, I guess on your personal page is a pretty good following, but
Facebook.
Or is it Facebook?
Well, Instagram is like, it's all farm related, and then Facebook.
But then the
is
music stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it'll get there.
Yeah.
But it's funny enough, if you know Wes as the musician, you would be taken back to find out the level of farmer you are. But if you know Wes as a farmer, you'd be taken back equally, I think, to find out the caliber of musician. But you don't fit the mold of either one.
No, I don't.
And I think that's what's beautiful.
I've always enjoyed when somebody starts talking farming stuff with you at a show about like GMO stuff and pesticides and stuff, and to have you pipe up on it, and the people talking about it are like, "What?" You just don't. You don't look like you cross paths as much, but you're more knowledgeable on both subjects than whoever you're talking to.
Man,
usually.
I gotta, it's just at some point I was like, when I had my first daughter, and it's like I gotta get serious about this. Like there's so much more than just plowing, driving a tractor. All the business end. I mean, I wear so many friggin' hats. Like, it'll really wear on you. I mean, I'm my own bookkeeper. Tax season, which is going on right now. That's a lot of fun when you're self-employed.
Oh, I know it. Which is a reminder.
And exactly. Sorry guys, taxes. But so the whole spectrum that is being a self-employed farmer.
Sure. And
dryland farmer in Central Texas, where you don't know if you're going to get a drought or if it's going to come just rain too much, like. And riding the markets and trying to figure out when to sell your crops, it's crazy. It is
because it can be a difference
honestly if you're
in thousands of dollars.
It's not, and that's why you can't just become a farmer. You kind of have to be born into it or something, because it takes so much equity. It takes so much money to farm. Land's so expensive. Equipment is so expensive. Every aspect of farming requires money, and some years you make a lot back, and other years like. You're just barely breaking even.
And you don't have a lot of control over that.
No.
It's all weather related.
And that will...
Just change it.
Can drive you crazy. You kind of have to be an eternal optimist. That's what I always say, like, to be a farmer.
You think the music part, because there's so much of the farming side of things you don't have any control of. I mean, you're at God's mercy.
Totally.
And you're constantly hoping for his blessing. You think the music part of it is a part that you have a little bit more control over?
Music part
just kind of lets you release.
No, that's a release. It's a total release, and it's like I always say, like I couldn't ever, like I tried for a while to not play, and like I have to play, like it's just I have to, I'm just not a happy person if I'm not, but I don't know how happy I would be to walk away from the farm and be on the road all the time. I think that would really get old quick too.
Become a job.
It's kind of a beautiful thing that's happened, and that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier. I've never really tried to book gigs, but they keep showing up. And in a spaced out enough, like I'm happiest if I'm playing once or twice a month. Like that's the sweet spot for me. I can actually invest some energy and some, thinking into preparing for it. I can actually get excited about going and setting up all the work that it takes.
It doesn't become a grind.
Yeah. And then with Lilly, it started getting a little more frequent than that, which got challenging, but it was also so much freaking fun. We played one night. We played a few shows in Austin. I'm so thankful. Got to check off a lot of, bucket list type venues playing with Lilly. And a lot of that's thanks to John. John lived in the Austin scene and kind of had connections. Lilly lived in Austin too, and she had some connections too. So between the two of them, it was beautiful, man. Like we played Saxon Pub a couple of times.
We were there for that show, and that was a bucket list just to go to Saxon Pub for me. Yeah, but to see y'all play was just
it was insane, man. I get excited just thinking about it. I would love nothing more than to do that again. But probably my favorite gig we played as a band was at a place called Stay Gold, and it was like East Cesar Chavez, like east side of downtown, east of the interstate. And it's this little old cinder block bar. And apparently it was called El Leon, and like Stevie Ray Vaughan used to play there and stuff.
Wow.
But it was called Stay Gold, and they had like just gold stuff everywhere around the
cool
stage.
And
man, we played our asses off that night, had so much fun, and there was just locals hanging out. Everybody was just hooping and hollering, having a good time. We actually got approached a message a couple of days afterwards saying they liked our music, wanted to hire us to play her husband's 40th birthday. So we played.
How great is that?
We played this, dude. It was like that the blue Jaguar that I play all the time. I bought that. I paid cash money for that from my share of that gig. Like they paid us really well.
Wow,
really well. And so I actually bought that on the way to the gig at Texas Tour Year. Just why not,
Just crazy.
So by far, like Stay Gold, that was my favorite, and we were booked to play there again, and then COVID screwed that up too. So
I want to. I don't want to take away from your time with Lilly.
Yeah,
but right before the break, you had mentioned you've got your own music.
Well, let's go back to Lilly. Y'all recorded an album.
Okay, yeah. Because
let's go back to that. Because that'll lead me into what I think we're going to go with his own music.
So originally we were going to record a record right here in this room. That was the original plan.
With Lilly.
Yeah.
Okay.
My buddy Ryan Beck had another friend that had some recording gear. So we were assembling all this gear. We were going to cut a record right here. And we started the process of that and started being like, I think we need to go to a real studio. Yeah. And one day we were sitting around listening to records, and I was like, John, you got to hear this Jerry Jeff record that I've got. And I'm digging around, I couldn't find it. And like finally the next day I was like, I found it. Check this out. It's called Contrary to Ordinary. My buddy Denny Cullinan gave it to me.
And it's not on Spotify. It's not on YouTube. You can't find it.
So we get to listen to it, and it has this whole jazzy kind of really laid back, almost reggae at times, like really trippy record. And we get to reading into the liner notes, and John was sitting there, it's like, dude, Chet Himes mixed this. And I was like, at this time, I'm like, who's Chet Himes? And he was like, Chet Himes is amazing. John has some connections with some other engineers and stuff in Austin.
So talk about Chet Himes a little bit.
So Chet Himes, like his probably biggest claim to fame is Sailing by Christopher Cross. He engineered that.
And Carole King.
Yeah. So he's worked with Carole King. He's worked with like the who's who of 70s and 80s,
Jerry
90s.
Jeff Walker.
Yeah. And so this Jerry Jeff Walker record was recorded at his house, at Jerry Jeff's house in Austin. And the bus had all the recording gear. In this bus, they pulled up on the curb, ran all the cords into the house. And
you see that? You live in that neighborhood, see that?
Yeah. It was just complete madness.
It was a different time back then.
So that was what sparked us to go record at Chet's studio. Like John was like, he has a studio with some younger guys in San Antonio. And so John reaches out to Chet. Next thing you know, we booked a date, and we all go down to San Antonio for a weekend. And we got this Airbnb house. We all crashed in the house together, and it was a great time. We cut the record live, just like we would play them at a show.
I love records like that.
Yeah. So I mean, we're all kind of, me and John especially, really appreciate the the way things were done back in the old days, And so we cut them all live. If we'd screw up, we'd start over, and everybody, start from the top, and we retracked Lilly's vocals afterwards. But everything else was, the heart of the record is all live. So that's a lot of fun. And Chet kind of comes from that old school that, so it was so good getting to sit there and pick his brain and kind of just absorb knowledge from him. So we cut that record, and then about a year later, I decided, it was during COVID, last year, during COVID, no gigs going on. It was like May, and I was talking to Napier, and I was like, man, I bet right now I could have my pick of the litter of musicians. Nobody's working right now. Nobody's playing. I bet I could just book, So I was like, what would the dream band be? And so John's like, well, how about, so John pieces together this band, and he gets them all to, agree to it. And so I booked this date at Cibolo Studios is the name of the studio, and we all go down there, and I send them all, before we all meet up, I send them all just iPhone recordings of each song, just me and the acoustic guitar. And so they listen through everything, and we show up, and Friday morning we start tracking, and I think we did 6 songs between Friday and Saturday, basically.
And you invited me down to shoot photos and videos on Saturday down in San Antonio, and this is a little strip mall off the freeway. You'd never know it was there. I thought I was in the wrong place until I looked up and saw the sign and walked in, and it's gorgeous inside.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And it's top notch, everything about it. And what was the song? It was either the Highway song or...
If it was Saturday, it wouldn't have been Highway Songs. We did that first, but
or Goldenrods, maybe
Golden Bars.
I'm sorry, I always screw that up.
Golden Bars was the last song we tracked.
For in my head, it's called Golden Road.
Yeah,
but Golden.
Good job.
Whatever song I walked in on, I've heard all of your songs for 10 years.
Yeah.
Acoustic.
Still can't get them right.
Yeah, right. I don't know the names of them. I just sit there and listen to them. But I walked in and I heard the speakers were going on in the outside. Y'all are all in your own individual rooms, and it didn't sound like your songs because of the band playing behind it. I mean, and I realized, oh, this is Wes's music playing. I didn't realize at the time until I walked in that y'all were actually doing the song live.
Yeah, and
it was so overwhelming.
I wish I could go back right now. I want to do more of that.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
And you're in your own little cubicle, soundproof room with the reflective glass. And I've got a picture of you you could see through 6 panes of glass. And I got to hang out in the room with the drummer and the bass player. Kenny was in his own room with a 100-year-old bass guitar in there. Mm-hmm. And Chet Himes is behind the board with Landis and what was the other guy named Russell?
James. Landis and James
Campbell. Yeah, that's right. And it was so impressive. I mean, and then that's when I got to see John Napier be a hard ass on everybody. I mean, I couldn't believe how much he was telling pro musicians, no, I didn't like that, do it again. Yeah. And I'm like, can you tell him that?
For real?
Yeah.
Well, that was the whole thing, like talking to John. Like, John,
he's perfectionist.
Me and him are both just like huge supporters of each other's music, and so when I was talking to John, I was like, "You're producing, like this. What you say goes."
He was the producer, and he was in charge.
A couple of those guys have played in bands for John, so John had some history with them all.
So it's just not like he's just been.
Yeah, there was respect there. Yeah, nobody told John to go pack sand or anything. Yeah, but
it was all
he was in control.
But it was a clear professional atmosphere where everybody understood he was.
When we first started, I said, I'm in here singing and playing. I can't hear everything. Whatever John says goes. Like, I trust John. He's my ears in the control room. It was so much fun because like Highway Song was the first one we did, and when we first started playing, everybody getting comfortable and everything, I'm in the control room, and I'm like, it wasn't feeling like I wanted it to. Like the drummer, like what he was playing was like, it's not what I want, but I don't know how to communicate this, So initially, I just want to be like, okay, well, I'll just go with it. But then I'm like, no, I'm paying for this. I got to get this right. So I'm like, hey, so I start talking and I'm like, I finally get through to the drummer. And then once we start rolling, like the first take, man, it's like, boom, he got it. And it was just the whole band was just firing on all 8 cylinders.
That was my big takeaway from Saturday is you would talk about something and it would just happen. Mm-hmm. And I'd never seen that before.
It was impeccable, musicians. Man. It was so much fun.
It's really cool to see whenever, especially, I don't know how to explain it, but whenever, it's the exact thing that you're talking about. Musicians, sometimes they sound so critical of each other, but it's never taken as critical. Because I don't know, I can almost kind of hear John being, no, I don't like it, do it again.
Yeah.
And being kind of curt, a little sharp about it, but nobody taking it as that.
No.
But everybody going, okay, I really want this to be right too.
Yeah.
Everybody trying to find
it
what
was
the other
the most
feeling.
Professional is the thing I've always dreamed of being involved in. And all it took was some money, and I made it happen. That in the pandemic. But truly, though, like there was the level of musicianship of everybody playing on this record. It was so top notch, and there was no ego. Nobody was like showing off or like trying to. Like everybody was there for the song, and that makes every bit of difference.
So we've got a mutual friend that has played in a few bands, and he's been a front guy for his own band, and he's talked about, he's even been a victim of ego himself.
Yeah, man, aren't we all? Yeah.
He's also been in bands where it's tons and tons of it's just nothing but ego, and he's currently in a band now, kind of at a state, and there's no egos involved. And he said, it's just the most amazing thing to be in a studio, or even to be on a stage with other people who are just there to play the dang music and play it the best they can and give the listener, in whatever context that is, the best thing they can have to listen to with no egos.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
It makes all the difference.
Just getting rid of the ego.
Everybody's meeting up for the song, and that's what the steel guitar player, Tony, phenomenal. And I didn't really know he was a steel guitar player. Like, I've met him through John, just playing guitar with. Anyways, long story short, I'll try to keep this condensed.
No, you're okay.
But so Tony wasn't able to make it the first day, and so he had to kind of overdub some of the steel parts. But the first day when we were tracking, it was discussed. So I've got a guy playing keys. He's playing. There's a Wurlitzer, and then like a Hammond, like big old B3 organ in there. So I've got that going on. And then I've got a scrappy Judd Newcomb, who he's been playing like right before us a few times at Saxon Pub. Just legendary Austin guitar player and songwriter. He's playing guitar for me in this band. Like the lineup is just. But they're all leaving room, and Scrappy did a great job of kind of producing too, like some of the songs, like the ending of "Slow Dance With Me," like that was all him. We were trying to figure out how to end it, and he just had this brilliant light bulb idea of how to. When it comes out, listen to it, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
How many songs y'all record?
6.
Yeah.
I have 5.
Yeah.
But I think y'all have another one.
Now, you had mentioned something about it. You had teased something about another, when I was beating the microphone up, something about another.
Well, I don't know what I was talking about then, but my favorite moment of that whole day
that doesn't change
was when Misty brought your daughters up.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was so
you
much fun.
asked them if your daughter could play a song. What was the name of the song? I'm going to screw it up if
I think you watched the clothes, I'll watch the dreams.
And I had seen that piano right behind you. I've seen her play it on there, and you recorded it. And you did the same thing for them that you did for yourself. You played them a version of it and said, my family's 20 minutes out. So the musicians learned the song. Your daughter walked in, got on the piano, and you just, as a dad, just said, don't freak out. These guys are going to be here. She sat in a room with the piano. She played the song on the piano and sang it. And then the musicians picked up and played along like it was like I got the goosebumps again talking about it because
I was like tearing up.
Yeah, watching Youth of the Glass, watch her play with the pro musicians out there.
Exciting.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later we're listening to the mix all around the board, and I'm like, that's exactly what music is supposed to be.
She's 11. Wow. She was 10 at the time, and
she's got the voice of an 80-year-old black woman that's been smoking her whole life.
That's great.
She does have an old soul, man.
I've heard her sing she's got I keep saying, when y'all going to put her on stage, because she'll bring the house down if she ever wanted to.
She has that natural understanding of that. There's something that happens in music that connects, with people emotionally, and it's so much more than any note or any one thing. But it's an energy thing, and she gets that.
Yeah.
And it's different music for different people at different times. It's a funny thing about
and
it.
Totally. She's got your deep dive knowledge of music. I mean, I think she's soaked in some of the stuff that you play on this thing.
Yeah.
And I think living out here in Moody, I don't think she's affected by the stuff that you see on TV and hear on the radio. She may be, but I don't hear it.
No, not really.
She's her experience with music is what you play, and that's what she thinks music is, which is what it should be.
Yeah.
And
it always cracks me up. My daughter, they love Steely Dan, so they're
really
always like, "Dad, we put on Steely Dan." I'm like, I did pretty good. I feel pretty good about my job.
That's a parenting win.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of music out there. I don't know how much more we got on this segment, but I'd like to know. So Lilly's got albums sitting out there, and you're the axe man for Lilly and Implements. You've recorded your own stuff in the past year.
Yeah,
that's sitting out there.
Yeah, I need to get it out, man.
When does the rest of the world get to hear it? What happens? All this music is sitting there. What's going to happen with it?
A big thing we left out of the story is
what's next.
The biggest thing that I need to finish up on this whole story of going to San Antonio and recording with Chet is Chet died of a heart attack a few months after.
I was going to get to that. It was what, 3 months after?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was heavy. That was really heavy. I didn't know him very long, but I made such a connection with him. I mean, the final night of recording, Sunday night, everybody left and we were mixing down. The original plan with this record I cut of my stuff was to go in, cut everything live, get it mixed, and send it to mastering and just like put it out like super fast. Like that was my original plan. And it turned out so good that we're like, well, I don't know. Maybe I should wait until this fall. This was in May.
Yeah.
Thinking that COVID was going to calm down, and like, there's nothing I'd like better than to do a string of dates with that same band and theaters and stuff, like,
ooh, yeah.
Like that's where it's at for me, So kind of put it on hold then, and then Chet died, and then COVID kept being crazier.
And I remember when I saw that Chet died, my first thought was for you and John, because I knew John was close to him, and then the other one that I'll connect to that is when John Prine died.
Yeah.
The only person I thought of was you.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah.
Because my whole introduction to deep folk music is when I met you early. You were talking about John Prine. He was one of your favorites, and and so since I met you, got into John Prine and knew all the songs, and I was sad, but I was more sad that man, that's one of your.
Yeah, John Prine was a huge influence on me, man, and Chet turned out to be the same, even though I didn't know him for more than about a year. But
what an incredible, call it whatever you want, but just so happens 3 months before he dies, you get it together enough to get everything together, and to put he handled.
Yeah,
that art.
It was really special.
I had a 10-minute conversation with him, so I wasn't. I mean, but I watched John and you talk to him that whole day, and I was grateful that I had that 10-minute conversation with him.
Yeah,
because it connected the dots.
I had my last long conversation with him. We were finishing mixing down Sunday night, and I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have a ride. John had gone back to the Airbnb, and so I was just kind of stranded there. I looked into getting an Uber, but it was during COVID, and that wasn't happening. This was like 2 or 3 in the morning.
May 20th
it's actually
or so.
Monday morning, so it's like 3 in the morning.
And you didn't want to be. And you didn't be walking in that side of town.
No.
So
Finally, I'm like, Chet, would you mind giving me a ride? And he's like, yeah, man, I can do that. And so I get in his car, and he's driving, and I didn't know I'd been drinking and quite a bit, and that was part of Chet had been sober for a long time, and for like years and years and years sober, not like long time that weekend.
Sure.
Anyways, so he's just talking to me, and he has like this big mustache beard thing. And so when he's talking, you could just kind of see the whiskers moving, and kind of soft-spoken guy. And so he's just like real soft-spoken talking to me while he's driving. And I'm talking like lane changing, like almost missing an exit, like swerving all over the road. And I'm just like hanging on for dear life while he's just, yeah, Wes, well, your record's really good. Just having this really wise, chill conversation with me while I'm just like hanging on for dear life in his car. And so like the next day I'm telling John that, he's like, oh yeah, Chet's he's known to be a really bad driver.
Oh man.
But so yeah, got
to the Airbnb, and that was the last time.
The next morning I stopped by the studio to tell everybody bye. And he gave me a big hug and told me he loved me and like told me bye. And then, a few months later, he had a heart attack. That was the last time I saw him.
And I know he had some financial difficulties with the studio right
that
before
happened,
that.
Yeah.
I donated to that cause.
I remember all that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how he died exactly at the time, but just
died in his sleep.
Yeah,
man. Well, I guess that's
good way to go. Good way to go. Yeah.
Well, we gotta take another break, man. We got one more break and one last episode.
Awesome.
I want to come back and I want to know what's going to happen with all the music.
All right, we'll talk about that.
There's a lot of it, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
This is Steve with Lauren January. Hello, Texas.
All right, hello, Texas.
Hey.
We're back.
And I still can't seem to figure out what to do with the microphone. Just kind of not being.
We're here with Wes Perryman at his house,
Perryman Farm.
Perryman Farm. Is that what this is?
Is that the business, Perryman Farm?
I go, not really, but Perryman Farms, like plural, that's what my email is. So
Perryman Farms.
How long have you? Third generation? Y'all been in Moody the whole time?
Yeah. And with land, being what it is, and that's a big thing too. I'll keep this short too, but anyways, so a lot of the land that I farm and my dad farm is land that my grandparents farmed, and great grandparents even, in some places. So,
really?
So yeah,
that's cool that you got that much history.
Yeah, it is cool.
It is. It's fun. It's an interesting thing, especially like right here where my house is where my grandpa was born and raised. So there used to be a house sitting right about where this one is sitting, but it was sold and moved off in the 70s. And but there's all kinds of old junk. I can show y'all before y'all leave, but there's old farm equipment growing up in the trees, and
that is nuts.
You can just find just random junk. Like there's a rusty spark plug I saw that somebody found and brought in the house. There's just stuff everywhere. But I like the old history and the
David Doherty. You know David Doherty?
Yeah, I know Dave.
He used to come out here with his metal detector.
Yeah. Oh God, if you just a metal detector will just go off every step you take out here. There's stuff everywhere.
Yeah, it's been a farm. We've been a working farm for
long time. Yeah.
You're only 15 minutes away from me. I thought,
Yeah, it took us 20 minutes to get down here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're dead center between Waco and Temple.
I'm a little bit closer to Temple. Like from here, from Moody, it's probably about the same. But I'm about 10 or 15 minutes from Moody. So I can get to West Adams, where all the restaurants are, almost as quickly as I can get to Moody.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. That's,
Because when you asked me when are you going to get here, I'm like, I'll be there in 10 minutes, apparently. I was like, it can't work out. We're wrapping it up here.
Yeah.
Wrap it up. Y'all can talk about maps and all that stuff. I'm interested in the music that's out there. Before the break.
Yeah.
Lilly and Implements. Y'all got an album that's just kind of sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
You've recorded recently. It's just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
Man, for all that you've kind of done that's got you to this point, what's next? What do you do with it? I mean, because people need to hear it.
Yeah, I agree, man.
You have a plan?
So with the Lilly record, which came, way before mine, it really just came down to trying to agree on a finalized mix, not wanting to just put your baby out there like always. And part of that too, with this many different creative people involved, like it's hard for everybody to get on board. And also it's just money and timing and trying, and then even like love you, Lilly, but still waiting on, I don't know if she has got copyrights done even still. So that's like,
oh, that's a big deal.
That's a big part of it. you got to get all the other stuff done first too. That isn't the biggest thing holding up both the records, mine and the Lilly record, is the final mix. So, we recorded in San Antonio. It's kind of hard to get the traveling back and forth and booking time and all that. Yeah. I've actually been talking to a couple of different studios trying to figure out maybe if somewhere in Austin or somewhere that I can go get some fresh ears on it and just get a final mix done to get mine out.
Do you have a name for the album?
Josh Barner just built a studio.
Josh is one of the studios I've reached out to. So I haven't heard back yet on, I sent him the roughs for him to listen to and see what they wanted to do with it. But
he does a lot of stuff.
Honestly, my record is like 98% there. It just needs like little, and I'd almost rather somebody with the knows it, like that doesn't have all the history with it, just to listen and
hear it completely fresh.
Yeah,
and clean.
like I think that would be an interesting thing to do. There's a studio that I've tried to call, but I haven't talked to the owner yet. It's called Yellow Dog Studios.
No Yellow Dog.
And they've cut a lot of Mike and the Moon Pies, stuff like that. Have recorded out there.
That's where I've heard that.
So I really kind of want to work. They're in Wimberley, and I've kind of got my heart. I've kind of got my heart set on them. So shout out Yellow Dog Studios. But that's kind of what I'm thinking for mine. For Lily's record, I don't know. We need to get it out. I know that.
Yeah.
When was the last time y'all played together, full band?
December, right before Christmas. We played at O'Brien's, and
y'all have another date coming up anytime soon?
We don't. We may play Barrow's reunion or not, anniversary show.
Yeah,
but not everybody in the band has agreed that they can make that date. So
that's the
shout out to you, Evan.
That's the hardest thing to do, is to get a bunch of people on the same page.
Yeah,
I'm producing a video right now and just trying to have there's a couple of actors involved and that kind of stuff, and just getting people together.
Oh, it's hard, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, people have lives.
But so and that's another thing. Like, I'd love nothing more than to get my record put on vinyl. I think it sounds good enough. I think it deserves it. But I'm like, who the hell is going to buy it? Like 10 people. But
it's all right, you can play it on that thing.
And then like Lily's record is so freaking good. From the get go, I'm like, I just want to get this played on like KUTX in Austin. I think if it played on that station, people would hear it and they would want to hear more of it.
That's the hard thing with me, reconciling Lily's music, Lilly and Implements, is what station it gets played on. Because it's kind of a mix of a bunch of what Lilly has a name for what kind of music it is.
Does she?
Something like hippie funk.
That's right. It's soul funk.
Yeah, soul
hippie,
funk. Hippie soul funk or something like that.
Yeah, I think funk can get into a lot of different categories for a lot of people.
Totally.
So it can get lost.
I always like to say that we all kind of meet up in the 70s.
Yeah.
Lots of 70s influences going on there.
So what radio station would you be played on? If you was played, would you be played
on his music?
Yep, your music. What radio station that we're familiar with?
I'll let Steve answer. I mean, for me, my answer is going to be different than his, but
more folk.
Yeah.
So what station is that?
For me, it's like your public radio stations, like KUTX in Austin. Okay. If you listen, that's my go-to. Like if I'm working in the shop, I put on. It's the closest thing to like top 40 radio used to be in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, and it fits.
Where 1 minute you're hearing James Brown, next thing you know you're hearing Buck Owens.
I love that.
Like that's my world. I just mean all over the place.
Is it K-Sun out of Austin? Have you heard of that?
There is Sun, yeah.
Sun, I think I listened to that on the way to San Antonio when we traveled down there, and there's a lot of folk. Funky,
So what is it in New Braunfels?
Like the Americana, KNBT,
the Americana,
that one.
Americana folk.
Yeah, I would definitely shoot for stations like KNBT.
It's very Americana lane. I wouldn't call it Americana, but maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I think Americana has taken on a different definition over the past few years. It's kind of morphed a little bit.
Yeah,
I've heard several musicians refer to themselves as Americana that I probably wouldn't.
Tyler Childers and
it's such a broad spectrum, right?
Yeah.
I don't even like using the term.
I think absorbs some of that.
Have you heard the new version of Turtles All the Way Down by?
What, the Sturgill?
Yeah, Sturgill.
The bluegrass version?
Yeah, he did a bluegrass
there's
version.
a newer
He has like, there's a couple of records out, volume 1 and 2, and he's like, it's called Cutting Grass.
Yeah.
I
And
forgot about that. I've not listened to that
It's
yet.
good shit.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
And see, there's not a lot that he's done that I've not enjoyed a lot.
Right.
Have you ever heard him give an interview? I mean, he comes across as a backroads hillbilly.
Yeah.
And he's probably got more book knowledge than
He's an intriguing dude, man.
He doesn't speak well in Nashville, does he?
So like, as far as me as a musician, like it's a funny thing. Like, I don't really, I want people to like my music, but I get excited thinking about people hearing my music for the first time. You know, like I get excited about people that care about music the way I do to hear. I want people that really dive deep, searching.
So you're not as much targeting the lay consumer, but somebody that's going to be a little bit more like Steve.
And the reason I'm so into your type of music, and you're the poster boy for the type of music that I prefer, is you're not writing or singing to a label. Or you're not trying to fit into a box.
Yeah,
you're writing the music that you want to write.
Yeah,
and I dig that a whole lot.
I just couldn't even do that. Like I would just have to.
And that's why I like Lilly's music too. I don't think the two are the same.
It's what they like. It's what you play.
You're playing the real Wes. You're playing the real Lilly and the Implements music. It's just it's organic. It's the best word that I.
And it's tough for somebody like me. And I admit I don't dive deep on a lot of stuff. I like it.
Yeah,
and
man.
I will keep listening to it. There was a time whenever it wasn't all digital. I'd sit and look through all the tape covers and the album covers. But the challenge is for somebody like me to get to the music. That everybody wants to listen to.
Here's the one question that I've held off asking. We ask it a lot. What are you listening to right now?
Where's your phone?
Of all of our guests in the last,
what's been playing recently? Get your phone out.
Man, I'm all over the place. I'm so all over the place. But I really like a guy named Dan Reeder.
What do you listen to right now?
Right now, Tom Waits, The Heart of Saturday Night Live. The Heart of Saturday Night is what's on there. But Mac DeMarco, I like him a lot, and he's like a real funky kind of alternative kind of stuff nowadays. And then Culture Wall, I like Culture Wall.
Yeah, we like
Jerry Jeff Walker, Refreshments.
And I've said it is I'll
Jim James, like My Morning Jacket. I've been listening to him a lot.
If I want to find an artist that I think I'll like, I'll go on Spotify, see what Wes has listened to last, and click on it. And 8 times out of 10, I'm like, okay, I dig this.
Good record, big shout out is it's Bobby Charles. Bobby Charles. It's a self-titled record, and it came out in the 70s. And it's basically the band. It's Levon Helm, Rick Danko, Richard Manuel, Garth Hudson, and they're all playing behind Bobby Charles. And Bobby Charles is like a Louisiana guy. Like, he had a song called "See You Later, Alligator." Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know that.
But Bobby Charles, the album, self-titled album, is so freaking good. Like from start to finish, it is just so good.
Like when we were getting ready, we were playing Jerry Jeff, Contrary to Ordinary.
Yeah.
We were playing Blaze Foley.
Yeah.
And this is not stuff you hear on the radio. You got to be a fan of the genre at least to hear this music.
Yeah.
And I've gotten so much musical knowledge just by following you and John Napier.
Right on, man.
And every once in a while, Napier will text me or call me, and we'll start talking music, and he's talking to me about stuff I don't even know and I'll tell him I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it'll all come back to the same artist that you and I are.
John blows my mind because he gets into like even Motown records and stuff. He can tell you what players played on which records and stuff. Like, he has that knowledge that I don't have, but I've gained just from hanging out with him.
What I've told him, it's like talking sports and having him tell you who the defensive coordinator was for whatever year.
Totally. But yeah, for me, like my biggest things are the songwriter scene. Towns Van Zandt, John Prine, Guy Clark, all these type these great pillars of American folk music. But then also, the Bob Dylan. I spent a lot of time listening to the band. But then Daryl Scott was one of my biggest influences. He had an album it was called Real Time with Tim O'Brien. Phenomenal record. It's just the two of them playing like on the front porch, recorded to like a reel-to-reel tape machine, and just phenomenal stuff. They both had like Daryl Scott's probably biggest songwriting hit was "A Great Day to Be Alive." The Travis Tritt song.
Yeah.
He wrote that. He wrote a couple songs for the Dixie Chicks. But if you got to look up Daryl Scott, man. Phenomenal performer, guitar player.
This is an ongoing. Yeah. This is a daily thing. Yeah. You don't even know. Daily, I'll go to Spotify, what Wes listened to today, and I'll discover a new artist. I love this
because whenever I sit down, I go through the edits. So I'll listen. I'll go back. I'll listen to all of this, and I sit with a notepad and I make notes.
I get very experimental in the Spotify. Like I also like really trippy, like kind of New York scene, like electronic. Like really, like the Mac DeMarco kind of fits into that kind of category, but I like some really weird stuff too.
Like right now, I'm into Tessie Lou and Sean Devine and Hannah King, who's not similar, but I'm into Montana for some reason. I didn't mean to. It's just all of a sudden.
I know where Brett Hendricks is playing. Chancey Williams.
Chancey. I've seen that.
Chancey, am I saying it? Maybe it is Wyoming.
Well, for a Texan, it's
for a Texan, that's all the same state.
Yeah,
it's close enough. It's up that way.
It's cowboy stuff.
Yeah.
And they're hardcore dedicated.
Look, we could go on we could do this segment right here for days, literally. And I'm
should we expect it? Sorry,
you want to get back to when the music's coming out?
Should we expect this? Yeah, should we expect to see it this year?
God, I hope so. I've literally been making calls this whole week while sitting on a tractor, trying to get it lined out, like find a place to get my record mixed. The Lilly record, there's a few more people involved.
My birthday's in June. Can we expect to see both of them by then? Is that reasonable?
You can definitely expect to see mine out by then.
Okay.
I think COVID has a lot to do with that as well. What's allowed of y'all playing.
Yeah.
I don't think y'all aren't playing because of anything other than there's just no place to play.
It's just not really happening. It's just, they're
once things are rolling, it's almost easier. Once things are rolling, it's almost easier to keep it rolling. But once it's stopped and you got to start it again.
Going back to being it's all organic, so it's got to happen the way it's
just goes with the flow. Yeah. But we all agree that we got to get Lily's record out. Like I said, I was listening to it yesterday and I was like, holy smokes, like why? Like it's fine just like it is, but it's all when it's your creation and everybody, it's
I've told this to at least 10 people. Yeah. I mean, personal friends. It's like, if you see Lilly and Implements play, just have an open mind and sit down and it will blow your mind. And nobody walks away from one of your shows and doesn't think that it's some of the greatest music they've heard.
Man, I genuinely wish we had a gig tonight.
We've seen y'all at Slow Rise.
Mm-hmm.
I remember walking. Leaving.
That's when I pulled y'all in. You said you got to listen to Lilly. Yeah. That was the first time
you said this has got to happen. And I remember whenever we was leaving, walking at the parking lot, and other people walking at the parking lot, and overhearing other people. That don't happen a lot, but it does happen, and people talking about y'all.
That's cool, man.
We're overhearing that, and it's like, we know them. Yeah, that's cool. That's right. They are good. And just hearing people blown away by it, and that doesn't happen very often.
And going back to the theme of this conversation, you've connected all the dots.
Right on.
It's. I mean, I've known you for at least 10 years now. I know you as a musician. As I got to know you as Perryman Farms and being in this room, seeing it on Facebook for so many times with your family and music related and family related. It's just all of those things just kind of came together in this conversation.
Awesome, man. I'm glad it worked out.
And there was a lot of things I think I knew a little bit, but I didn't realize some of the ties you had to some of the Waco people I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And then that brings it down, to a whole new world that I know nothing about, especially then you got these ties to Austin and then once you play around Salado, and then you've got these really old school ties with with some of the staple people that I'm familiar with around Waco and some of the local scenes, some of the
Montana with Sean Devine, and
yeah,
I mean it goes on forever.
I was getting ready. We're gonna keep rambling. I'm sorry, but I was getting ready. Sean kept inviting me, like, anytime I can help you book a tour, all the way reverse what he does,
Yeah,
and I was getting ready to do it, and then it's another thanks a lot COVID, but that's I've got a little pickup camper I can put in the back of my truck, and I still want to do that. I want to just book a string of acoustic dates and.
I think you'd be a huge hit up there. Just in what I've learned just here the last 2 weeks of, I think you would.
Another bucket list dream of mine that I'd love to find a way to do is I've got some other buddies that I've met through John that have done these small European tours, like playing little pubs and stuff.
Well,
I'd love to do that.
Mike Stanley does a thing.
Yeah,
he does a Ireland tour.
I've never met Mike, but yeah, I've heard a lot about him.
Y'all would hit it off.
I think y'all would get along. I think y'all would do well. He's peculiar. You're a little peculiar, but you both have this. Mike's
organic.
Mike has this way of doing things with words and music and it's not like anything that anybody else does, and he is perfectly great with that.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people really are, because he doesn't believe it, but I think he has this little small cult following almost.
He's got an album that hadn't come out in a couple years too.
He's another one.
I've seen a few videos of him singing. He definitely has like this really unique, cool style. And I mean, that's what. Yeah, God dang it, we're gonna just keep rambling. But it's one of my favorite things. Any of my favorite performers, like Daryl Scott is a prime example. John Prine is a prime example. They have
they're their own artists.
John Prine could sing freaking Aerosmith and it sound like a John Prine song.
Right.
You know what I mean? Daryl Scott,
Mike's that guy.
they have their own sound, And
Mike sings Little Red Corvette, and it is Mike's version of Little Red Corvette. He sings Creep, and it's his version. You know what it is.
Totally, yeah. And that's my favorite thing about artists is when you have that quality, And I do in my own right, I suppose. But that's what I aspire towards, and that's what I want to do. Is just like
Courtney and Jason. I know at one point they used to go to like France or something other.
They still do.
Yeah, Italy. Yeah, the whole red dirt country music.
Yeah, man.
It's Europe for the music that we're kind of in love with. Whether it's
there's pockets.
Whichever part of it.
You can always go to Australia. You got a place to stay.
Yeah, you need to find those guys.
Y'all remember about 2005?
It's been a few years.
Just show up.
Yeah. I'd like to know who that is now. So
let's wrap it up. So,
I'm okay with that.
Wrap it up.
Thank you for the time.
Thank y'all, man. It was so much fun.
If this is just the conversation we had and all this stuff goes away, then it was awesome.
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed it.
It was everything that.
No, I think it'll be fine.
And by the way, I just want to thank y'all while we're talking. Like what y'all do for local music scene is really important too. And I'd say this area is really.
Appreciate
really
that.
Really lucky to have people like y'all that are pushing the scene, because it's not a scene without people make the scene,
And for us, it's kind of a dual purpose. We tell people you're just a part of this whole thing. This is just something for me and him to get together and hang out.
I'm going to say this to you because you're more responsible for me doing this than just about anybody, because you're a good-looking guy. You're easy to take pictures of singing. I tell people all the time that I want people to see in the pictures what I'm hearing when I'm taking it.
Right.
And when I look at your photos, I can tell you a lot of times what song you're singing when I took that photo.
Through the emotion.
And that's a big reason why I take pictures of musicians, because
that's cool.
I respect the music so much. I respect the effort for the songwriting so much that I don't care about weddings. I mean, I do weddings and all the rest of the stuff, but
I love all the feels.
If I just got to take pictures of musicians, I'll be fine with it.
Right.
And you're the poster boy for what that is. So.
No, and I absolutely understand that. And me and him both, we kind of come from similar but some different feelings of the art of photography. He loves photography and everything. I love the art of photography.
Right on.
Photography is kind of his stage pass to get to the musicians. His first love is the music.
And that's
my first love is the photography, but the music comes with it. And again, it gives me and him a chance to hang out. It gives me an opportunity to meet amazing people like you and learn your stories.
I'm freaking sitting in your house talking to you on a Sunday afternoon.
Deal.
We've talked about me coming by for forever. I'm like, yeah, I've got no reason to. Well, I had a reason to now.
And I want to be clear. Our reason for anything with the music and with the music scene is because we know that we are privileged in a lot of ways to have access to music differently than a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. And I can't sit here and believe with a good conscience that the music that we hear on the radio all the time is all we have. People don't realize how sucky that music is. Not all of it, but in the grand scheme of mainstream, it's not as good.
Yeah,
there's so much more than what you hear on the radio.
There's so much more, and it can still be just what you hear in the background.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a listening room, but there's good music, and we want people to know about you guys.
Heck yeah, man! I appreciate it.
To know it and spread it and listen to it, and if it helps everybody grow, that's a sidebar part of it. I think that's what's the word I'm looking for? That's the icing on the cake, sir. Well, I can't tell you thank you enough. We're humbled to be in your home. You
awesome, man. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks for the coffee, the hospitality, all of it.
Right on, man. Let's do it again sometime.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. Well, let's just wrap it up. Thank y'all very much for sitting with us. I'm Tim Murphy with Hello Texas.
I'm Steve Peters, and we're here with
Wes Perryman.
Thank you. Bye, Texas.
So long, Texas.